Rise for the pledge and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we honor you as the creator of the universe and the author of truth. Father, we're here today to do the business of Finney County, and we ask that you be with us in each of our discussions and our decisions. Father, we're mindful too of things going on around us in this country, in this world, things that where people are losing lives, whether it be through storms or whether it be through evil things going on. Father, we ask that you be with each of those families in each of those communities. Father, we ask too that you provide the moisture that you know we need. And Father, we ask that you bless each and every person who's here and represented today, and all the families that might be represented, I should say. And Father, as we swear in people who have won elections, we thank you for our democratic process, for the election process. We ask that you be with each and every one of the elected officials. Father, we ask that all of these things, and we bring them to you through your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
You'd have a seat, and we're going to, on the published agenda, we had a mistake, if you will, but part of it's caused by the template that we use for setting the agenda, that the oath of office is showing a few steps down, but the oath of office will take place now. And where'd the judge? Oh, there, you're hiding behind one of our people. Thank you, Judge, for being here with us today and doing this part. And Dory, I'm going to leave it to you on the order of the oath of office and how we're doing that. And there will be photos as each one is sworn in up here in front of our commission desk. So, Dory and Judge Cott, if you would, we'll go through that swearing-in process, and then our new commissioner will take his seat at that time after he's sworn in as well.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and swear you in. Congratulations to you all. I'll just go in order of the papers that were handed. So, Mr. Warren, would you come up, please? Sorry. Where do you want us?
Just right,
In here?
yeah.
Right in here?
Right, well, close to that mic, Dory.
Or pull it out and hold it, Judge, if you...
Yeah,
All right.
that'll work right there, yeah.
If you'll raise your right hand. I, Michael L. Warren,
I, Michael L. Warren,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of Finney County Sheriff, so help me God.
and faithfully discharge the duties of Finney County Sheriff, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You sign here and I sign here. Stephanie, you'll be next.
Mike, do they want more pictures?
My God, I don't know.
We meet again.
Yes.
I got to swear you in last time. I, Stephanie M. Shockley,
I, Stephanie M. Shockley,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of Finney County Register of Deeds, so help me God.
of Finney County Register of Deeds, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to sign?
Yeah, I got to sign first.
Larry Jones will be next. Mr. Jones. You have a nice signature. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, how are you?
I am well.
Good.
It's a pleasure. I, Larry C. Jones,
I, Larry C. Jones,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of Finney County Commissioner, so help me God.
and faithfully discharge the duties of Finney County Commissioner, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My signature won't be quite as clean.
Oh, I. We have to have a picture.
Mr. Finney. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Will you please raise your right hand? I, Lon Fishney,
I, Lon Pishney,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of
and
Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of Finney County Commissioner, so help me God.
and faithfully discharge the duties of Finney County Commissioner, so help me God.
Congratulations, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
One more, sure. Official, it's signed.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Schultz. Good morning, congratulations.
Thank you.
Will you please raise your right hand? I, Jerry Schultz,
I, Jerry Schultz,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of Finney County Commissioner,
and
so help me God.
faithfully discharge the duties of Finney County Commissioner, so help me God.
Congratulations. You gotta get a picture. All right, thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you, Judge Cott.
Thank you.
We appreciate you doing this part of our meeting today. Thank you very much. Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
As we proceed, I'm going to make a couple of comments and then ask if the commissioners have anything to add or subtract from the agenda. I have one thing that we'll be taking off the agenda, and I'll mention that here in just a minute. First of all, Bob, thank you for your year of service. We appreciate your community spirit and your desire to make Finney County a better place. And we do appreciate all the time and effort you've put into your year here on our commission. Jerry, we look forward to serving with you the next several years, and thank you for putting your name on the ballot, and it's, as each of us has done during different times, and thank you for your willingness and your spirit of community service. As far as the agenda goes, we have, we moved the oath of office to the beginning of the meeting, and I want to clarify one thing. Jerry's term began last Monday, but the swearing in and taking the oath of office could take place anytime that day or later, and we choose here in Finney County traditionally just to do that oath and swearing in at the next meeting following that official term of office start date. So that's why we moved the oath to the beginning of this meeting. It actually could have been prior to the meeting, but we had not given any notice about that. So that's why it was reorganized just slightly today. And I just wanted everyone to know who's here in the audience as well as those online, why that took place. The one item that we need to take off of the agenda today, Commissioners, is at the end of our business items, the resolution about a sales tax fund. That we do not, we are not required to do that resolution, and, but in the spirit of erring on the side of caution, the administrator had put it on the agenda and it went out, but it is not needed. So we will delete that item off of the business items today. Also to note that, and it's on the agenda, but we will have an executive session after our reports today for non-elected personnel. And we have published about 10 o'clock for a work session and to go over department reports and department status as well as our goals and priorities. And we published a start time of 10 o'clock. That may or may not be at 10. It might be 10:30 or whatever. We're going to go through our normal agenda, our regular meeting agenda first, and then the work session will take place after. But we couldn't start that work session until a published time, and so we chose 10 o'clock for that, but it may in fact be a little bit later. Commissioners, any other things to adjust with regard to the agenda? If not, we'll move forward, and you have a couple of items on the consent agenda, and I would entertain a motion with regard to consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda as printed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Dwayne and seconded by Larry to approve the items on the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Abstain.
And we have an abstention from Jerry Schultz. All opposed, nay. Motion passes with one abstention. Public comment is for anything that's not on our published agenda. Anyone who wants to make a comment from the public, we ask that they keep those comments within about a 5-minute time frame, and that they be respectful with regard to whatever the subject might be. With that, any comments from the public? Seeing or hearing none, we'll move into the business items. The first item on the agenda after we modified it with regard to the oath is the clerk of the Terry Township. And Dory, are you leading off the discussion on that?
Gabby was going to do that one.
Oh, okay. Gabby?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning. Morning.
So the Board of the County Commissioners is asked to consider an appointment to the office of the clerk for the Terry Township governing body. A vacancy in the township governing body requires the Board of the County Commissioners to make an appointment. The Terry Township resident, Catherine Engler, was elected by write-in in the 2022 general election to serve as the clerk for Terry Township. On December 9th, Ms. Engler submitted a letter of resignation to the Finney County Elections Office, indicating her desire to decline the position. Ms. Engler's resignation created a vacancy on the Terry Township governing body. Ms. Whitney Savolt has expressed a willingness to serve as Terry Township clerk. As a resident qualified for elector of Terry Township, Ms. Savolt is qualified to serve in this position. So the first alternative is to appoint Whitney Savolt to the office of the clerk for Terry Township for the unexpired term ending January 11th, 2027. Or the second alternative would be table the appointment and direct staff to reinitiate efforts to identify additional interest and qualified individuals.
You've heard Gabby's recommendation to appoint Whitney Savolt for Terry Township clerk, And I will start with Dave because I believe you have some comments and some.
I do have,
observations about
Terry Township's not highly populated, as we realize, and I believe I saw some kind of a note that they had 185 residents, and not all of them are willing or qualified to serve in the capacity as a township board member. However, I knew Whitney from a former contact with the commission. She and her husband came in and sought a waiver, which we granted to allow a mobile home to be placed on their property. And so from that, I had her phone number. So I called and asked if she would consider, and she said, discuss that with my family, and then called back and said, yes, she would be honored to serve. So when the opportunity arises, I want to offer a motion to put Whitney Savold's name in the book as a Terry Township County Clerk.
And I believe she was invited to attend here today, but her work.
She's a police officer in the city of Scott City, and so her work schedule probably got in the way.
Right. Yeah, that's what I understood. So, Dwayne, any comment or question? Jerry, comment or question?
As soon as he makes his motion, I'll second it.
Okay. And as you do that, the green light's on, so they always want us to speak into our microphones.
I'll carry a big enough voice.
Larry, any comments or questions?
Oh, I have no comment. I'm glad we got somebody to volunteer.
So, Dave, it's in your plate.
I'll formally offer the motion to name Whitney Savold as the Terry County, I don't know why I want to call it a county, Terry Township Clerk.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Motion by Dave and seconded by Jerry. Any further comments? If not, all in favor of Whitney Savold being the Terry Township Clerk, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. And send our congratulations to Whitney, Gabby.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yeah, thank you. Then Doria, the next item I have on the agenda is the Rural Water District, and I believe it's a petition has been submitted, and we are being asked today to set a hearing date if the petition is valid.
Yes, so all you'll need to do today is set a hearing date. Mr. Perry Smith of the Rural Water District filed a petition in my office at the end of December, and that requires that it come before the board, as described in your packet. I'm just notifying you that that's the case, and you will need to set a public hearing date and time for sometime in the next 30 days.
And if I'm not mistaken, the petition has been deemed valid.
Well, that is something you would determine, I believe, at the hearing
Oh, at the
itself.
hearing,
You would
okay.
discuss the petition
Okay.
and determine its
All right.
validity.
I appreciate that. And it's been suggested in our packet that the next meeting at 8:35 would be an appropriate time for hearing date, and I heard you say that as long as it's within the next 30 days, so that would be within that time frame. So, am I
Yes.
correct? All right. So what is the board's desire about a hearing date for this petition?
I'll make the motion that we put the petition on the calendar.
At 8:35 on February 6th. There is a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second, second by Dave. Any comments or discussion?
I will abstain.
Okay. If there's no other comments, all in favor of setting the hearing date for this petition at 8:35 a.m., February 6th, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And one recusal by Jerry. All right. Then, Alicia, we have a board appointment for the Planning Commission.
Good morning, Commissioners. Before I get started, I just want to introduce Dante Thompson. He is our new planner. He started about a week ago, so you'll start to see him around here and around our office.
Say the name again, please.
Dante Thompson.
Okay, all right, thank you. Welcome. Glad to have you as part of the office over there.
All right. Well, at the January 3rd meeting, the mayor and the city commission appointed Vicky German as the member at large in replacement of Mark Jiggett for his expired term on the planning commission. So as the at-large member, we have to have appointment by all 3 jurisdictions. The appointment is a 3-year that's set to begin January 1st of this year and expire December 31st of 2025. I know Ms. German is here. I don't know if you want to get up and say anything. Good. She has served on the planning commission before and has taken a break and would like to reserve.
Did you receive my?
I did receive your email. Yes.
Asking some follow-up questions, and do you have responses?
I do. So currently on the board, we have Beverly Glass, Leonard Hitz, Gina Anliker, Sean Collins, Lance Rupp, Nathan Heck, Steve Michael, and Brian Crockett. And so the ordinance that was passed by the city commission is that it be a 3-year term, all of them be appointed by all 3 jurisdictions. However, it is the mayor that goes in and elects the person for appointment. And they elected Vicky, and it was approved also by the Holcomb Commission last Wednesday. I think that was,
Well, and then my other question.
yes, Mark, yes, so Mark did want to reserve. However, the city commission did not approve him. The advisory boards are allowed to serve 2 full terms, and Mr. Jiggett has served 4. So he has received 2 waivers from the city commission, and they did not grant him another waiver.
That's fair. Those are all things that we're not necessarily aware of, and that was the reason for my question, so that we're making a decision with full awareness. So, thank you for that.
No problem.
Commissioners, your desire with regard to, well, more or less a confirmation of Vicky as an at-large replacement, because it's already been appointed, she's already been appointed by the city for the at-large.
I'll make that motion to confirm Vicky as at-large representative on the planning commission.
Motion by Larry, seconded by Dwayne, to confirm Vicky German as the at-large replacement for Mark Jiggett. Any further comments or questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Could Vicky tell us how many committees she's on? If she is kind of a popular name before us.
So when I sent in my resume, those are not things that I'm currently serving on. Those are just my past experiences somewhat. But I am on the Builders Association Board. I am on the Board of Realtors as the treasurer, president of the Builders Association this year. And the BZA currently, along with some committees that I'm on at church.
You're a busy lady.
I am. I actually enjoy it. I retired from my position at Fry several years ago so that I could do this. It has long been a goal of mine to serve the community, and it's something that I'm enjoying.
Thank you for your willingness to serve the community, Vicky. So,
Thank you.
right.
Other comments or questions? Dwayne? Jerry? Larry? So the motion in front of us is to confirm the appointment of Vicky as the at-large member of the Planning Commission. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. And let's see, Robert, we have a resolution with regard to the gap accounting waiver for 2023.
Sure. Good morning, Commission. Every year, the Board of County Commissioners will pass this resolution. In essence, it's a waiver of reporting and preparing statements in according to generally accepted accounting principles. Your financials are presented in essence as a summary of receipts, expenditures, and unencumbered cash at the end of the year. Your audit is performed in that manner as well. With that, you'll have an opportunity, as you've noticed this last year, we're starting to roll out more consistently on a monthly basis what's known as a KMAG financial statement, Kansas Municipal Audit Guide, which mirrors the same information that you see on an annual basis or that you have been used to seeing on an annual basis only. So we're trying to be a little bit more consistent on what you're seeing, keep you up to date on the county's financials. So with that, before you is that resolution for your consideration, unless you have any further questions of myself.
The resolution we're being asked to approve for this is 04-2023, and I will move around the table here with regard to comments or questions. And Larry, let's start with you. Do you have any comments or questions?
It is just a procedure, really, is what you're asking for, is it accounting procedure, right?
Correct. You're waiving to prepare the financials under a GAAP or generally accepted accounting principles.
Jerry?
My question is has the auditors, Dasenbrake and Sakovic, do they concur with this resolution that we should continue with financial review outside of generally accepted accounting procedures?
We did not ask for their concurrence on that. I think you'll find that probably 85 to 90% of the municipalities, both incorporated cities and counties within the state of Kansas, prepare theirs in that accordance.
Mr. Chairman, did we waive generally accepted accounting procedures for 2022?
I believe we
Yes, you have.
I believe that's been the history of the
And all your past financials have been prepared using the statutory base.
which it is permitted statutorily, yeah. Thank you, Jerry. Dwayne?
Just a comment, we've done this for quite a number of years. This is a little more detailed probably than what we had when I first came on the commission, so I appreciate that. The only thing I might add in the future for our own reference is maybe a current balance of those funds somewhere along the line.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and you should start to see that on a monthly basis.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have no further question.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion with regard to Resolution 04-2023.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the approval of resolution number 04-2023.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded, moved by Dave, seconded by Dwayne. Any further comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Now, since we have you at the podium, let's continue on with some year-end transfers.
Sure, today
We have some resolutions that need to be passed with regard to this.
Today you'll go through the formal process of authorizing transfers at year ends. This is something that the county has done for numerous years. Your first three are done by resolution. The first one of these are transfers out of the building or the Public Works Road and Bridge Fund. You'll have a transfer before you. Let's see here. Dollar amount, please, is $300,000. This here goes into the Special Highway Fund. $300,000 going into the Special Highway Fund. What questions do you have of me?
I'll go around the room, and former Commissioner Bob Kreitzer has asked to make some comments with regard to transfers, but we're going to go around the room first and see what, yeah, go ahead.
Well, the current balance in Special Highway is $5.2 million. The transfer brings it up to just over $5.5 million.
And Bob, do you want to comment after we've discussed all of these? Okay, I just want to make sure. I want to be courteous to you. Dave, any comments with regard to the first resolution?
Nope, this is rather routine, business item that we do every year, so no questions here.
So this first one would be the resolution 05-2023, if I'm correct, Dory?
Yes, sir.
And Dwayne?
No comment.
Jerry? And Larry?
No comment. I'll make a motion that we pass Resolution 05-2023.
That would be the transfer into the Special Highway Fund. Any further comments? If not, all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Well, did I get a second? Excuse me.
I don't know if you had a second.
I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself.
I'll offer the second.
Yeah, I was confused.
Quick, Dave.
Yeah.
So, motion by Larry, seconded by Dave.
It was a silent second.
All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Sorry about that confusion. Then we have a second one with regard to special equipment, if I'm correct, Rob?
That is correct. In the same spirit as the first one, you'll transfer into special equipment, and this is for equipment replacement of road and bridge equipment, $800,000. Current balance is just over 1.1 million, bringing the balance up to 1.9 million. I think you'll see the reason for this is, as you are well aware, the availability of equipment is very sparse, and so we'll transfer that and take advantage of it once the equipment is available. Questions?
The only question I have is just terminology. We say we're transferring into a special equipment fund, but the resolution says, oh, I want to make sure I'm reading that correctly. Yeah, okay. Highway and equipment fund, okay. Yeah, I was just confusing myself there. All right, any comments or questions? This would be resolution 06-2023. Larry, any comments or questions? Jerry? Dwayne?
I'll move we approve resolution 06-2023.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Moved by Dwayne and seconded by Larry. And Dave, did you have any comments or questions?
I don't.
No, I just make sure everybody's covered. All in favor of that motion to approve this resolution for special equipment, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Then we have a third resolution with regard to capital outlay, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Your final resolution today has to do with noxious weed and the transfer of resources from that to the noxious weed special fund. This year we're transferring $30,000 into that fund. Prior balance or current balance to date is just over $90,000. This brings the total up to $120,000. Once again, this is for equipment, replacement of equipment within that fund.
Any, are there comments or questions? And look at Larry first with regard to resolution 07-2023. Okay. Wayne, Dave?
Nope.
I would entertain a motion with regard to that resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve resolution 07-2023.
Transfer into the capital outlay for noxious weed. Is there a second?
Go ahead.
Second.
Seconded by Larry. Motion by Dwayne, seconded by Larry. Any further comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. And then I believe we have a list of other transfers that we received the one-page handout this morning. And Robert, would you go over that for us, please?
This final series of transfers is once again a process that the Board of County Commissioners goes through every year. If you recall, this process has really been enhanced with the change in the budgeting process that we've gone through. And essence, targeting the systematic replacement of equipment and the repairs on facilities. As you go through this, you'll see approximately transferring $1.4 million into the various CIP, capital project funds, or equipment reserve funds. I won't go through necessarily the list by list as you have them before you, unless you would care for me to recite those.
The only comment I have, it appears to me that, well, yeah, under Road and Bridge, is that a duplication of the resolutions that we just passed?
Yes, it is. On that particular sheet, it does include, as you see, the total amount of just over $2.5 million, $1.13 million is what you just authorized by resolution.
And the noxious weed is the last item?
Correct.
Okay, so you've included all of them within this one page?
Correct. And
Okay.
that's more than anything for assisting the clerk and treasurer's office in making those transfers that year.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
This just requires a simple motion with a approval of a majority.
Right. Larry, comments or questions? Jerry?
How is this list determined?
This list is determined based upon the budgeting process. Within the budgeting process on an annual basis, usually in the capital line item, we provide an amount that is anticipated being transferred at year end into the reserve funds based upon the inventory of each department and the useful life of those pieces of equipment and the current value of those pieces of equipment. So on an annual basis, you will continue to see that a consistent capital line item within each of those funds and departments within those funds. This eliminates the peaks and valley approach of budgeting.
Were each of the elected officials consulted in making this recommendation to us?
We spoke with, I believe, all of them, if I remember correctly, all of the elected officials on those. We had meetings with all departments on these transfers.
Well, there's some elected officials that are not included in these capital equipment reserves. I was wondering why.
Say that one more time.
There's two elected officials that don't have capital reserves being created for their budget. I was wondering why.
There is, please be specific, which ones?
It looks like the Register of Deeds and the county attorney.
Register of Deeds, I believe, has an amount in there. Stand by. Because I believe it was $10,000, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
I'm sorry, that's correct?
It says deed instead of register.
Deed, yeah. County attorneys is left in their fund balance. And we also, just as a point of clarification, within your buildings and grounds capital reserve, that is monies set aside for facilities. Not just a specific building, but for overall facilities. So things such as the courthouse elevator would be coming out of that, things of that nature.
Other questions, Jerry, or
No,
feel your questions are
as long as
answered?
the elected officials were consulted, that's what I wanted to make sure.
Sure, okay. Dwayne? Dave?
Nothing.
Okay, so you see the year-end transfers that are on that one-page handout that we have, and it just simply need a motion to approve those transfers. Anyone willing to make that motion?
I'll make 3 in a row. I move we approve the year-end transfers as presented.
There is a motion, is there a second? I'll second. And seconded by Larry. Any further comments or discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Robert. And Bob, we'll permit you to come up and comment about the transfers as you requested.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Bob Kreitzer. I'm a taxpayer in District 4. Throughout this last year, we were reminded often that there's a difference between business and government, and I certainly agree after spending a year in that environment. When you waive the generally accepted accounting principles, you walk away from a tremendous management tool. Now, I understand all the reasons that we do it, but those of us in business, you use the income statement, the profit or loss, very much like you use the revenue and expenses that we get on a regular basis. However, the other tool is what happens to the overall financial condition of the county. Last year, when we listened to the auditor, when they came forward, they said that we had done an extraordinary job. The administration had watched the expenses, and we put $6.808 million on the bottom line, if you will. Where does that money go? This year, we have a budget that was put together and really worked very, very well. We had budgeted some $49 million in terms of revenue received, and we yielded that much money. We had budgeted that amount of money in expenditures, but through judicious management of funds, non-availability of equipment, non-availability of asphalt to where we could fix county roads, we only spent $32 million. So we have around $16 million that we took in from taxpayers that we didn't spend. Where does that money go? Our treasurer lists at the end of every quarter the fund balances that we have in all of these capital accounts, road and bridge, special projects, all of those all the way down. Convention and Visitors Bureau, Economic Development, all the way down. And at October's statement that was published in the paper, there was $58 million in those funds. Now, that's not a report that you get, that we got during this last year. Why not? And last comment along that is because of these reserve funds, there should be some kind of conversation at budget time about the money we have versus the money we need. We went into the budget last year and we had, oh my God, we've got a terrible situation. We got a 47% increase in health insurance. Terrible deal. In 2022, we had budgeted $10 million for employee benefits. We spent just over $5 million. When we were preparing our 2023 budget, we said we've had this terrible deal, we better budget more. So we budgeted $11,500,000. We ought to have quite a reserve if we get the same kind of reserves. We also said that we needed to pay our employees more. And we all agreed, and we as commissioners at that time brought forward, let's raise their fees. And we were told we can't afford that. We don't have money in the budget to do that. So we were told that we could use some of this ARPA money, American Recovery Plan Act, that the county got $7.2 million that was to be used for basically helping the people that were impacted by COVID-19. We as commission gave $600,000 to daycare, very appropriate. Gave $220,000 to the community college for retraining employees, very appropriate. We committed $3.1 million to fixing county sewer districts. Well, we didn't use property tax, so that's probably a way, but we still have about $3 million. We were instructed that we needed to use $1.5 million of that to pay for that raise. And yet we have $16 million on the bottom line. Somewhere along the line, we need to balance our expenses, our money's coming in, and our reserves. So I urge you to look not only at that budget the way it's prepared, because in 2013, when we prepared that budget, we had no idea what was in reserves. You know that, we need to know that. We couldn't do the law enforcement center because we didn't have any money. There's enough money in reserve funds to completely do that project and not have to wait for the quarter-cent sales tax. You could go ahead and start on your health and EMS building. We just need to look at the rest of the story. I appreciate the time, the education that you have given me over this last year. We will continue to support the county in every way possible. But I'm going to also ask for your help and make sure that we look at all of the numbers before you make the final decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Robert, any comments that you would like to make with regard to the reserves, with regard to the use of reserves and so forth? I know we talk about that with our auditors from time to time, how much we need to be holding in reserve. Any comments to that particular subject?
Absolutely. You know, just for clarification perhaps, and may throw in a few comments or questions as well, but on an annual basis, you used to have your auditing firm prepare your budget. And I can recall when I walked in the door that there was a certain preferred fund balance that they were shooting for. Do you recall that? Yeah. And that was somewhere between that 30 and 50% mark is what they had suggested. Okay. 30 to 50% of what? Well, it's of your annual expenditures. So for consistency purposes, that's what we do. That helps prevent a reactionary approach to spending, to budgeting, and to setting aside funds for various projects that the board wishes to perform. So what was transpired over the years is just that, is that we have maintained that approach over the years to do just that. If you wanted to wipe the slate clean and spend all your reserves on a project, the board can do that. That's entirely up to you. I think there's a lot of things that within the operations of a county government that it takes a while to grasp those requirements, and understanding that certain funds can only be used in certain ways. So as we move forward, and we'll have a lengthy discussion about this as we continue throughout this year, I think in the future, if there are questions, and I've offered this of all the commission, come talk to me or the fiscal committee, and we'll walk through that process. Just a side note, I think the last 2 years when we did the budget, you recall that we have an outstanding debt out there for the HVAC system, correct? And that debt was in excess of $4 million. And you dedicated monies from a sales tax that expires 5 years before that debt's retired. actually 6 payments before that. So before we go suggesting that we expend all the reserves, I suggest that we take a good sound look on how we're going to be financially responsible in terms of retiring that debt in the future. Because I don't think there's anyone here in the room that can guarantee that that sales tax will be voted upon in a favorable manner, guarantee it. I think there's hopes. But in essence, at the term of that sales tax, the county still owes approximately $2.4 million on that debt. So, anyway, I'll leave it at that, and we can have that discussion, probably a part of today's work session as well.
That's exactly where my thoughts were. I think some of this will come out in our discussion today as far as how would we fund this and where would those funds come from and so forth. I think some of that will come out in our work session today. So a nice segue into the comments and the thoughts that I was having on that. Any other comments? And I happen to be looking this way, so we'll start with Larry.
One comment, after serving several years on this commission, you know, I've watched other counties go through fluctuations, evaluations, and it's pretty painful.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get in that situation because, you know, it's not only painful for us, but it's really painful for the taxpayers. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones that we have to answer to. And I think we're judicious. We try to be judicious with the funds. I have no problem with finding out where the reserves are and what. I think those are some good suggestions. I would like to ask Trista, she's back there, where we keep, what kind of interest we're getting off of these funds and those type of things, and what's her plans on putting them out for bid, or what's her plans with these, where these reserves go.
Trista, would you please step forward?
I hate to blindside you doing this, Trista.
No, but she can give us a general thought with regard to what your parameters are for investing idle funds and our reserve funds, and what kind of bidding and so forth. She can give us some of those parameters.
Absolutely. So, so largely, since I've took office, I've just been keeping with prior treasurers what they had done. If you look at my my monthly report, you'll find a statement on what kind of interest we earned last year on the funds in the bank. Keep in mind, please, that interest rates have been climbing. We saw interest rates start to go up at midsummer, right? And so we are getting a better return now. I think that it would be a great idea to start going out for bid for banking services in general. And I think an RFP would be prudent in this case. And so that is my plan for 2023, to revisit some of that. Okay?
Because I think we've been asked as commissioners by different institutions that they would like an opportunity to participate.
Absolutely, and if you'll find, so in county's policy, the county has given the county treasurer the opportunity to invest the funds for the county. So I would invite those financial institutions to reach out to me. Now, as far as bids, all investments will be taken by bidding. What kind of interest rates they can give us, what kind of terms, in compliance with statute. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments to Robert or to Bob, to the overall comments that have been made about reserves and so forth and so on?
I think that the wonderful thing that we're going to do today is take up that type of financial review in the work session. And I appreciate Mr. Kreitzer giving us an opportunity of his insight into his time sitting in this chair. And I want us to work towards a better understanding, each of us as commissioners, as to what the overall financial cash position is of the county. We should know that each and every time we meet.
Okay, fair. Anything else?
No, sir.
Oh. Dwayne?
I'm simply trying to recollect a little bit, 10 years ago when I first got on the commission, what the auditors told us our reserves were, and if I recall, it was in the low 20%. I leaned to Larry or Dave, and so we were kind of chastised for not enough reserves at that point, so we have gained in stability as far as I'm concerned.
Dave?
When Gary was with our accounting firm, he was an advocate of 30% minimum. And Dwayne's right, there are a couple times in my now 14 years on the commission of seeing that drop in the 20% range and how hard it is to work out of that. That's a deep hole to come out of. The reserves that are in the bank, I do hear chatter from those who are critical of government at any level that we don't use entirely the local banks. And I don't know if that can be addressed. I don't want to embarrass Trista, but when things are deposited off in the national banks away from here, is there a compelling reason? Because the interest doesn't seem to be any higher.
So the requirements for being a depository of Finney County, as laid out in statute, which we go by statute, we don't have any further requirements, are that they have a branch located within the county. So money is not going off to random places. They all have a physical presence within Finney County.
So we may see a deposit at a Commerce Bank in Kansas City, but they have a bank here. Is that?
Yeah, they are headquartered in Kansas City, but they do have a branch here.
'Cause that is an instance that came up, so, all right, thank you, Trista.
And I would just segue from that segue to the comments that I had. And one is, yes, I had a local banker question, and he's had discussions with Trista, and also I encouraged him to have additional discussions with Trista just to make sure that we were following the guidelines and so forth and so on. So, Trista, I think that's all the questions that we or comments we might have toward you.
Thank you.
The other is, and even in the 8 years that I've been here, Dwayne, that 20 to 25, 30%, that was mentioned in my first year. You know, the auditors that was the guidance. In my professional career, over 40 years, we always encouraged what I call the Emergency Opportunity Fund, and that's to me what these reserve funds are. To Larry's comments, I remember some of our neighboring counties that are so dependent on oil and gas that their valuations drop by 60, 70% in some cases, and yeah, that ebb and flow is something we need to be aware of as well. So I don't know what the right number is with regard to county government versus the personal counseling that I did over many years, but certainly there needs to be reserves, and I would echo what Jerry said a second ago, and that is knowing that at a commission level is a good thing, good information for us to have. So, anything else with regard to the year-end transfer subject and the balances in reserves? If not, the last item on the business items was deleted. We'll move into board governance, and the board governance today will be in our work session with regard to the priorities. The comment I would make to that is we being Dory and Robert and myself, as we set agendas, have concluded that probably the best way to accomplish a couple of things is to have them be together. And one is, there's been a desire by this board during these last 12 months to have a better interaction with the department heads, elected and appointed. And secondly, we have committed to reviewing our priorities and so forth on a quarterly basis. So you see the agenda for our work session that'll be coming up incorporates both of those. And it's my suggestion, whoever is sitting in this chair next year, that for this upcoming year, that we continue that process, that on a quarterly basis, we bring the department department directors together with us the same day that we're reviewing these priorities, because I think they fit hand in glove as far as the discussion that might take place or needs to take place. So under board governance today, that's one thing I wanted to mention. Secondly, under board governance, we have the the legislative policies of the various groups that we said that we would piggyback on, so to speak. And I received the updated one from the KLPG the other day, and we said that we will look at KAC, KLPG, the Chamber, so forth, and NACO as our legislative agenda. So I just simply want to call your attention to that. Make sure you're mindful of those different legislative agendas, because we said that is what our legislative agenda is as well. But the rest of board governance will be deferred to the work session that we're going to have here in a little while. So with that, you have, is it Gabby over on the computer? Whoever's on the computer, if you'd pull up the upcoming meetings, please. And then yeah, there you go. We've added some things on here from our discussion last meeting. We have our KLPG and Local Government Day this next week, and then the night out in Topeka for the Southwest Kansas Chambers the following Monday. So there's some times that we can be in the Capitol and visiting with our legislators over the next week or so. And then the thing that I still am highlighting is February 9th. And I was saying this as much for Robert and Dory and the staff of the county as much as us as commissioners. That's the day in the rotunda from, I think it's 9 to 3, but don't hold me to those times exactly, that we have anybody with KAC can have tables in that rotunda promoting, helping legislators understand rural, helping legislators understand our specific counties. And this is the second year that they're doing that, and I think it's extremely important for Finney County to be a participant in that day at the Capitol. So I'm going to keep stressing that until we get to that day. Anything else as far as the rest of you know with regard to calendar, and some of it may come up in your commissioner reports, because I know we have one thing tomorrow we've been invited to. Do you want to mention that now, Dave?
I can. Rotary, an international organization that started in Chicago, Illinois, about 120 years ago, made its way to Garden City 100 years ago. And so tomorrow, in honor of 100 years of Rotary service to the community, you are all invited between 11:30 and 1:30 for a come and go reception, if you will, with heavy hors d'oeuvres being served at the Beth Tedrow room at the community college. What's the name of the building? I can't think of it all of a sudden, but it's the Beth Tedrow Center, the endowment room. I'll get it correct. And at 12:15, there will be a short program on kind of the historical history, if you will, of Rotary in Garden City. So you are invited.
And lastly, with regard to meetings and events, if any of you have things that you think are important for us to try to attend, at least one commissioner be there, please let Dory know so she can put that on the calendar and update the calendar from time to time. We need to be present at as many of these events as possible. And then lastly, please note the legislative coffees that start in February, when our local legislators will be present and we can visit with them here instead of in Topeka. And the first one is February 18th. With that, we have County Administrator report. Do you have more to report than what you did this morning with transfers and so forth?
That truly took up most of the time within the office, and so we can touch base on some of the other stuff within our work session.
Okay, all right. And then Mackenzie, do you have an update for us with regard to development projects?
I do this morning. So good morning, Chairman and Commissioners, and welcome Commissioner Schultz. Mackenzie Phillips, Development and Administrative Coordinator. So today I have an update for Ponderosa Edition. We had originally at last meeting mentioned that we were going to be trying to bring Resolution 2 before you today to set that public hearing date. There is a hiccup in this addition right now, the subdivision right now. The water source that they were previously going to be connecting to notified them about a little over a week ago that they are not able to serve this community. So they right now do not have a water source identified, and so we're waiting for the developers to come to us with some different options on how they're going to provide water to this development. So until we get that, we cannot bring the resolution before you.
Okay.
So that's all I have this morning. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, this is off topic, but while Mackenzie's here, she has altered the schedule of the LAPC, and it's not reflected in Dory's notes. And so you want to tell the world what we're doing now at the LAPC?
Yeah, so the LAPC, the Local Emergency Planning Committee, they previously were meeting quarterly, and sometimes those meetings would be shuffled around. We are now setting a specific date for monthly. It's going to be every second Tuesday, or I believe it's every second Tuesday
Second Tuesday at 1:30.
at 1:30. Yep. So.
Yes.
I would encourage you, as far as emergency management, most people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. Schedule your meetings and keep them up. We need emergency management, but we don't know when or where, but we will need it.
Agreed.
Good point, valid point.
So development-wise, any
Any
other questions for me?
comments or questions, Larry, Dwayne? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And no, I haven't overlooked the reorganization item on our agenda, but I felt like we needed to get through a few of these things, and then we'll have the reorganization. So those of you who said, Lon just forgot all that reorganization stuff, we will have reorganization of our board here in just a little bit. But the commissioner reports. Larry?
The only thing I've got is KLPG conference call last Friday, and I encourage everybody to be on those on Fridays at 8. They only last 30 minutes. They're pretty interesting. But looking down the list of speakers for the meeting at KLPG, you know, my gripe with all our local elected officials in Topeka that we didn't have any leadership positions. Well, they've rectified some of that. And Jim Minix, former commissioner from Scott County, is now is chairman of the Water Committee, a new committee. Also Rick Billinger, who's this senator from Northwest Goodland, Northwest Kansas. He covers large area, and he is on the chair of the Senate Budget Committee. So that's, you know, those are two big committees. And then on tax policy, Adam Smith, who's a former county commissioner, is chair of that committee too. So we are being represented well in western Kansas. I think, Shannon Francis is
Transportation
Committee chair. So we're getting, at least our voice is being heard in Topeka. That's was always my complaint.
Yep, no, that's a good point. Jerry, during this time of reports, it's, have we been out in the community, have we done some things, but also what effects are these organizations having, and what outcomes are we seeing to give some input to the board? Just as Larry was saying with regard to speakers, we're going to have a KLPG, that kind of thing. So for future reference, that's kind of what we try to accomplish in the commissioner reports.
I will tell you that I attended the new commissioners seminar in Topeka.
Yeah.
Some very good information. When I receive all of the presentations that were made during that 2-day conference, I'll share them with Dory, and she can send them to the rest of the commission. But it does give us a good feel for how we're doing compared to other commissions, and also got to network with a lot of other fellow commissioners that were there also. There's a real nice picture of all of us circulating around. good meeting, plenty of things that will help us going forward.
And it seems like there were quite a number of new commissioners this year based on what I saw in the results of elections. Is that what it appeared by attendance and so forth?
Be approximately 100 people, and several people attended 2 years ago when it was conducted via Zoom.
Oh.
As folks will learn, you guys can do the computer thing, I'm still stuck with paper. And they didn't have the paperwork, and I'm not a visual learner, put it in my hands, and so I was promised I would get all of the visual presentation material by email, and I'll get it to Dory to get out to everybody.
Sure. Thank you.
Now, does KAC, they sponsor this, or who puts it
Yes,
on?
Kansas Association of Counties.
Yeah.
Good.
A little bit of it is indoctrination into their methodology, but
Oh, yeah.
it seems to me that the counties have a better voice in Topeka when we have a common source.
And I think what's interesting, this is off track here just a little bit, is how many have 3 commissioners, how many have 5 commissioners, the urban commissioners, the smaller counties, and some of those dynamics has been really interesting for me to learn about through my KAC experiences. So, because it's not the same for all 105 counties in Kansas in many ways. So. Anything else, Jerry?
No.
Dwayne?
The only thing I've had since last meeting is Fair Board, and they're well on their way. A lot of plans are in place, sponsorships and things like that. Seems like they're a little more organized than they were 4 or 5 years ago, so they're ahead of the game from where they were in the past, and they're doing a great job. Next meeting, I believe we'll have a presentation we'll have to approve a new board member, another volunteer step forward, so we'll have that probably next meeting. As far as convention and visitors, December's meeting was canceled due to all the holidays and stuff, so that meeting is coming Wednesday. Monthly meeting is Wednesday, and same with Great Plains, that meeting is going to be coming this Thursday. So, that's it.
Dave?
Not much to report, Mr. Chairman. We did have a LEPC meeting, as mentioned, on the second Tuesday, and it's interesting to see them trying to reshuffle the deck and rewrite bylaws that were written. That LEPC concept started in 1988, and how things have changed over the years, but McKinsey and crew are doing a good job, and they have their work cut out for them trying to get that so that committees line up with responsibilities. The old bylaws had 4 standing committees that never met for the last several years. That's all been taken care of, so I appreciate her work. Tonight at 5 o'clock, if we're through with our meeting here, we have a library board meeting, and I'll attend that unless the new chairman names somebody else to go to the library board. So that's about all I have to report.
And my report is brief, but a couple of things. One is I did attend the 100th year celebration of the Garden City Police Department, and I know Bob was in attendance at that meeting. But that was very interesting, and Steve Quakenbush did a semi-brief review, and if Steve, if you're watching, I'm kidding about that. He did a great job in reviewing how the police department started, the formal police department started in Finney County, named the police chiefs over that time, and it was very interesting. And then they gave a celebratory badge to each of the officers, and even the chaplains received one of those badges. So it was really a nice event and great recognition of our police department. Then the other thing I want to mention is our ad hoc group about facilities and assessment and audit is still getting together to refine and define a little bit better what we would expect out of the report. We got a proposal back to cut the cost in half of what we had presented before, and that group is going to meet again on the 13th of February and discuss that proposal. And I would ask And we'll get a copy of that to you very soon, so you can review it as well. But I would ask that the county consider being a major funder of this particular study because it affects the entire county. And you'll see more of that in the proposal, but after the 13th of February, it will be an item that will be added to the agenda for formal consideration. And then lastly, I do plan to be in Topeka for several days next week for KLPG, the Government Day, but also to visit with legislators, get acquainted with some new legislators that were sworn in last Monday. And so I'll be spending 3 or 4 days in Topeka on legislative things. With that, then I took chairman prerogative and moved the reorganization to this point in time. And once we reorganize, and you should have things on from the packet, and Gabby, if you could pull up that page, I think it's 37, maybe. We have several things we need to do in reorganization. Once we complete that reorganization, then we do have an executive session that we'll need to convene into with the new chairman. And then from that, we'll go into the work session following those two things, reorganization and executive session. So I think it's page 37, just to keep us on track, Gabby, or whoever's over there. Am I correct?
Page that is.
Or am I not seeing it?
Page, yeah, it's page 37.
Go one more, one, the other way, the other direction, yeah. The one that just had the reorganization memo.
There you go.
There, that's it, just to keep us on task here. So with that, we need to elect a commission chair, a commission vice chair. Then the board appointments, normally the chair takes responsibility for that, the incoming chair takes responsibility for that, so those may or may not be completed today. They might be at next meeting. Then the depositories and the official newspaper. So we'll open up the reorganization by asking for nominations for commission chairman.
I move that, I will nominate our new commissioner as chairman for 2023. I think there's no better way in finding out county government than to jump right in. And it does take a little more time, but it takes as much time as you want to devote to it, let's put it that way. But I think Commissioner Schultz will do a great job.
There is a motion on the floor to nominate Jerry Schultz as chairman for 2023. Is there a second to that motion? Or comments from the nominee?
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to rain on the parade here, but I think Jerry would make an excellent vice chairman, and I would nominate Larry Jones to be chairman so that we maintain the rotation that has been our tradition. So, and he comes equipped with a background, so it's not a learning experience, and that's not. I hope Jerry's not offended, but.
I saw this as a ploy for him to avoid the chair, and Dave, you just called his bluff.
Yeah.
So the motion that we have in front of us is to nominate Jerry. I'm not hearing a second to that motion, so since it dies for lack of a second.
Come on, commissioners.
Second my motion.
Then I hear.
Mine, and
But we're working on the chair first. So the motion.
I nominate Larry Jones as chair for the year 2023.
Did you determine that there was not a second?
Yes.
Have you already decided?
Yes. So the motion, because I felt enough time had elapsed. I really did. I felt enough time had elapsed. And so the motion on the floor now for consideration is Larry Jones as chair. Is there a second to that motion?
You know, you guys have me at a tough spot because the rotation has Larry and then me, and I don't want to do it, so.
Well,
But I heard another suggestion for the
Yeah.
second spot.
For the second,
I'll make a
as a vice chair.
double nomination, but in which we've not been called on, but Larry for chair,
We're doing them one at a time.
and then we can handle Jerry.
So is there a second to Larry being the chairman? Going once? I say that that one has died for lack of a second as well.
You may second things too, you know.
What? Mr. Chairman, I will renew my motion to make Commissioner Schultz chairman.
Okay?
Now, repeat
Just a
that
minute.
motion.
Yeah, just a minute. Let me, first of all, say that the motion by Dave Jones died for lack of a second, as I announced on the first motion. So now we're back to another motion, and I've heard Larry say, I'm moving that Jerry be the chairman for 2023, and then Jerry seconded that motion. So now we have a motion on the table for discussion and deliberation.
And
Go ahead.
Dwayne, I would be vice chair if you don't want to do it, could help Jerry as much as possible, or he'd help me basically, because he's probably way better at it than I will ever be.
Good point.
Okay.
Any other discussion about the motion to have Jerry be the chairman for 2023?
Well, I think Jerry can handle it, but usually it takes a year or two for most commissioners to figure out what's going on. But I appreciate your willingness to go for this, so.
Dave, any comments?
No, he needs a life jacket, but we will help him.
All right, we have a motion and a second for Jerry to be chairman, and all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the motion, please say nay. Motion passes. Now for the vice chair, the next thing we have on the agenda, and you want to take over the rest of the reorganization, or do you want me to move through it? Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, short-term Mr. Chairman, I'll nominate Larry to be vice chair, and that's your life jacket, so.
Thank you, I'll second that.
Okay.
So moved by Dave, seconded by Jerry, for Larry to be the vice chair. Comments or questions? All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Oh, excuse me, and all opposed, nay. Motion passes. The board appointments, as I said a little bit ago, you should have received a list in your packet, and that's up to the chair to make those assignments after visiting with each of the commissioners. So I'll leave that in the hands of Jerry, and we'll go on with the depositories as far as the reorganization. So I think that we've worded that, Dory, in the past. All those present in Finney County, or is that the way we've worded that?
All qualified financial institutions in Finney County is how you've done it in the past.
Okay. So that would be the motion that I would be entertaining today, would be all the qualified institutions, financial institutions in Finney County.
So move.
There's a motion by Dwayne. Is there a second?
Second. Go ahead.
Larry gets the second for that. Any discussion? And we've already heard a couple of things from our treasurer with regard to branches being present and so forth.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to see a more equal balance between the financial institutions with regard to our deposits made by the county. I think it's better for commerce, it's better for our county that those be not necessarily equal, but more practically reasonable as much as possible.
Okay. Valid comment. Anything else? All in favor of the depository motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. The last one on our list here is the official newspaper, the official publication for our notices, and I've had some discussion about this with Dory and Robert. we've had discussion about this in the past, and it's no reflection on Megan sitting over here representing the Garden City Telegram, but we've used them as our official publication. But we can name an official publication that, and how, do you remember the wording on that, Dory? It has to, the largest circulation or something?
Yes, with the largest circulation in the county. I believe it also has to be headquartered in the county after doing some additional research of the statutes.
Okay. Because we've had discussion about that, but nothing has changed in Topeka with regard to having an official publication being electronic. It still is newspaper or print at this particular point. So I would ask for a motion with regard to official newspaper, and I may make a comment after that.
Our official newspaper needs to be the Garden City Telegram for this year. That's
Second.
my motion.
Motion is Garden City Telegram will be recognized as the official newspaper, official publication, and Larry seconded that motion. Any comments? My comment is this. I was informed that obviously we can put notices on our website and so forth. I don't know about the other four of you, but most all of our friends do not subscribe to the Telegram anymore, but they do look at the online version. But if you aren't a subscriber to the online version, you get a limited version of the Telegram. But I was also told that that all the legal notices are online with the Telegram. Jan and I are subscribers to the Telegram, so we have full access to the online version. So I went in the other day and looked and for legal notices, and I'll say why here in just a minute. And it's under the classified section online, and the last legal notice that was published online was 6/14 of 22. And I would think we've had legal notices since June of 22. So I'm concerned, and maybe we need to work more with the Telegram and how do we get this on there? Because the complaint that I've had with regard to this, all the notices that we have to publish, like for the hearing date for the water district that we made a motion on this morning, we have certain requirements for those to be published, frequency of publication, and so forth, and people are not seeing those. I have had multiple complaints, I can't tell you how many, but multiple complaints over the last couple of years. I didn't know they were having a hearing on that. So with our official notices, somehow we've got to improve how people can view those. So I'm not opposed to what the motion is, but I'm concerned about people not seeing the notices they need to see with regard to hearings and tax notices. We're talking about tax sale coming up and so forth. I want to make sure people are seeing those notices. So that's my comment about it. Any other comments about official publication?
The only way you're gonna change this is convince our elected officials in Topeka.
Yep, I agree.
I would say from an election standpoint, if you don't mind me saying so, we do a lot of publications, and there is no perfect solution to this. There's people that don't get the paper, there's people that don't look at the website, there's people that don't look at Facebook. There's no perfect way to reach everybody.
And I do recognize, I do recognize that, but my goal is to have more people see it, but I recognize there's no perfect way, yeah.
A little bit of history on public notices. It used to be attaching it to the front door of the courthouse was sufficient. Then we had the onset of publication notices, and now we're down to where we have contact people, but very small office representation by the Telegram. If you'll notice from our outlying counties, they have lost their weekly paper, and now the Telegram is their official notice within their counties. And so while we still have the Telegram, that's what we have to use, and I concur with Larry that the folks in Topeka ought to have a solution to this, as we have a declining free printed press. That may be a dinosaur, but that's the way it is.
And I would just say in conclusion to these comments, my request has been, or is, to do all that we can as a county, whether it be our website, whether it be working with the Telegram on more electronic notice, information, do everything we can to make sure that we're doing our part to inform people of these notices. Again, not going to be perfect, and we have some limitations at this point. So the motion on the floor is to name the Garden City, well, no, excuse me, we already, no, we didn't vote on that. It is to name the Garden City Telegram as our official newspaper. So all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. The last thing is the executive session, and it is for the purpose of non-elected personnel, and I believe we need Robert in there with the commissioners, and do we need Kelly in with us as well? And Kelly, our HR person. And do you think 30 minutes, up to 30 minutes will suffice for that? So
With a short
right at
break on
10, so we would reconvene no later than 10:30.
Short break on the way, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, we can do that. And so, non-elected personnel, Robert and Kelly, up to 30 minutes.
All right, I make a formal motion that we go into executive session with the administrator and HR person and the board to discuss non-elected personnel to reconvene at 10:30.
There is a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Larry, and motion by Jerry, obviously. And all in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. And at 10:30 or shortly thereafter, we will begin our work session.
back into regular session and confirm that no action was taken during executive session.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to go back into regular session and confirming that no formal action was taken in an executive session. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're back in regular session. Would entertain a motion to empower the county administrator to begin employment immediately of a county counselor, the job description, and the terms of compensation suitable to the county administrator and to the commission to be submitted back to this commission in the form of a written contract with the terms and conditions spelled out in the contract. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Mr. Pishney approved, Mr. Dries seconded this motion. Is there any further discussion about the county counselor position? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Administrator, hire you a county counselor, sir.
We'll do that.
The structure of that agreement will be that the county counselor serves at the pleasure and at the will of the commission in consultation and working with the county administrator. All right, is there anything else on our agenda that we need to perform today?
Not on the business agenda, Mr. Chairman, just going into the work session, which there will not be any action during the work session. There might be recommendations for a later meeting.
All right, with regard to committee assignments, you guys know that I am the new kid on the block, and traditionally these assignments have been left to the will of the chair. I like tradition. The captain of the Titanic said this is the way we've always done it, posted an officer of the watch, somebody at the front of the ship, didn't work out so well. So now and then, change is good. I would like to hear from each commissioner as to which assignments they would like. And since I'm occupying a chair from Lon, you get the first picks.
Okay.
So what would you like to do?
Oh. Well, first of all, the sales tax, I'm gonna kind of be working from bottom to top. Sales tax thing, Jerry, I think you should take that on as the chair from this commission. Not only because of what you've done on that sales tax thing as far as leading it, but also just the role of the chair to coordinate with the whole commission. The audit committee, I believe, should be under the chair as well. I certainly don't have a problem of continuing with economic development as far as one of my assignments. And in the past, I've done, CVB and some of the other things. So I'm more than willing to have you assign, I would continue on with economic development, and I'm more than willing to have you assign me to any others. But I would suggest that audit and sales tax be two of yours.
Okay. And is there any discussion from other commissioners as to what Lon is saying? I do want everybody to know that I was the city's designee to the sales tax oversight. That committee has no legislative authority, is merely oversight according to an interlocal agreement. I have told Matt Allen, the city administrator, that I would resign as the city's designate, creating a position available for them. So if the commission doesn't have a problem, I would like to stay on that committee and keep the continuity of leadership. I am the chairman of that committee.
All in favor of that, say aye.
No, this is for
I think it's
purposes of
important that the
assignment.
chairman
Yeah.
of the Finney County Commission always be a part of that committee. I think it's been rotated.
All right. So of these, can you take the planning commission on?
Sure.
And I was gonna take the fiscal committee.
Makes sense.
And between these two, which do you want? Because I need one.
I would probably prefer the extension council,
Okay?
but either one.
gotta have a third committee, though. You got the planning commission?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I don't know the,
Sorry, just for clarity, can we go over again what Lon's been assigned to?
Well, he's, yeah, we're
Since-
still working through that.
Oh, okay, I
We'll
thought you
make
were done
sure-
with yours.
We'll make sure,
Okay.
you know, we'll make sure you have that here in just a second. But-
all right.
So I would have then, economic development.
Planning commission, West Plains Extension.
Yeah. And if after you go through everything, if there needs to be another one, fine, but, that would be.
Okay, who wants to go next?
I'll volunteer, because the ones I cover right now, other than the Committee on Aging, they've got a new chairman, and meetings are a little better than they were for a long time. So I would volunteer to do those three. And the detention center, I've done that one several years and enjoyed working with Beth and crew
Very
down.
good.
And workforce, don't know what that's gonna, sometimes we're in Great Bend, sometimes we're not.
I,
Have no idea.
as you know, the predecessor in my chair was really interested in developing workforce in our area, and so I would be really happy if you would take that and run with it.
Okay.
Dwayne?
I'm fine with the ones I'm on. I think Great Plains Development, I've been kind of stuck with that. A lot of it, legal issues for conflict of interest, so, and I'm fine with the ones I have unless you want to add something or take something, doesn't matter.
Okay, Mr. Jones?
You ready for me?
Yes, sir.
The only thing I would say is I've been on the library board. They have a term limit of 6 years. I've been on that since about 1910. Not quite, but I've been on it all but 1 year. However, I don't mind it. So if you don't mind me violating term limits, and they meet again tonight.
I don't think you have term limits on the library.
I don't either.
I think that's for,
And then the state law says, Jerry, that the chairman will be the member on the library board. We added to that a little bit, or his designee, his or her designee, so you can designate somebody else.
You just got designated.
All right, thanks. And then the local emergency planning committee, I've been on that by default ever since I've been on the commission. And I still don't mind, those two both meet monthly. And the other two committees that I'm on meet less than monthly, like annually, so I'm good to go with what I presently have, if it's okay with you.
All right. That leads me to the last thing, which is Compass Behavioral Health Board, that Bob had been assigned to, and if I'm looking at mine correctly, I have fiscal committee as needed, audit committee twice annually, and oversight, which is only 4 times a year, plus the job of being chairman, if that is the wish of that committee when I get there on March 1st. Is anybody willing to pick up the Behavioral Health Board? Is that a weekly or monthly meeting? Monthly. Or is it recommended that I should have that one? What's the recommendation of the board?
That you do it if you don't mind.
All right.
Well, and partly too, because it is, mental and physical health are part of our mandates as counties, and I think it's good for the chair, and that's when Bill took it on, was when he was chair.
All right.
So I think that's inappropriate.
So Dory, the assignments go like this. For Jerry, Compass Behavioral, Finney County Fiscal, Audit Committee, and County Sales Tax Oversight Board. For Lon, it'll be West Plains Extension, Planning Commission, and Economic Development. And the remainder stay the same.
Except for the coffee on the paper.
Two, right. Those are the appointments. I don't think we need any further discussion or motions or decisions. Any other appointments or committee assignments that we should make? Hearing none, we'll go on. Are we ready to adjourn to our work meeting? So we'll we'll go out of regular session to work session, and no formal action will be taken during the work session. If we need to come back into regular session, we'll need a motion and a second in order to do so.
Congratulations, Jerry, you're doing a good job.
All right, I'll beat on the gavel.
And they'll let you use the gavel.
All right.
Here's a gavel.